Let's go through the concept of elasticity of demand in this video. So let me write here elasticity of demand. And recall from math that elasticity deals with percentage changes. So we're going to talk now about percentage changes. Now, why is this important, especially in economics? Because oftentimes when we want to know the effect of price on demand, knowing it in absolute terms, in unit terms, is not practical. For example, what's going to be the effect of a tax, let's say, of 100 euros on a certain car, on a car? Well, a car usually is going to cost, let's say, between 5 and 10,000 euros. Let's assume it's 10,000 euros. Well, the effect of 100 euros over a price of 10,000 euros is very small. So this doesn't tell us much. People are probably going to buy the same amount of cars as before. But let's compare this with a tax of 100 euros. Tax of 100 euros on a phone. And let's suppose that that phone costs around 300 euros. So if the price of the phone is 300 euros, then 100 euros additional means a lot. So the demand for those phones is gonna be the effect on the demand is gonna be very high, meaning people will buy much less phones. So overall, what we're trying to say here is that oftentimes thinking about the effects of units, the effects of euros in this case, is not enough. So it's wiser to think what could be the effect of a tax of 10% on the demand. In that case, it's more practical because we're going to compare relatively. We're going to compare 10% out of 10,000 euros or 10% out of 300 euros. So that's why we have this concept of elasticity. Now, what does elasticity mean? Let me go down. Elasticity shows us the percentage change in quantity relative to a percentage change in price. And we're speaking specifically about elasticity of demand because in the next video we're going to discuss elasticity of supply. So let's say elasticity of demand is equal to the change in quantity relative to the initial quantity divided by the change in price relative to the initial price. Let me zoom out a bit and get some more space. So if we zoom out, okay. Now how can we write it in a better way? Well, let's do some math here. Change in quantity divided by quantity. When we divide by all of this, we multiply with the inverse. So we multiply with price divided by change in price. Now, to make it even better, let's group the terms. Let's group the deltas together like that. And the other two terms we're going to group like that. So we will have price divided by quantity times change in quantity divided by the change in price. And that's going to be our formula for elasticity of demand. And what are going to be the interpretation of this thing? Well, the interpretation is that if price increases by 1%, how does quantity demanded change? By how many percent does it decrease? Because what happens when price goes up? Quantity demanded would go down. So for instance, if we have a result that elasticity of demand equals to minus 0.4, elasticity of demand equals to minus 0.4, that means that the effect from a 1% increase in price leads to a decrease in quantity demanded by 0.4%. Hope this makes sense. We are done.